I'm David with the City of Concord Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you for coming. For the folks who were the abutters who did not get the invitation to the last meeting until 2 days after the meeting, I apologize for that. US mail, I don't know why I went all the way down to Boston and it came back. And then this time we mailed it out and 2 days later you guys received it. So I apologize for that. So we're redoing the meeting. We've been working with these Andrew and Craig for about 1.5 to 2 years now. This is a follow-up from last year's meeting when we had a conversation in this building regarding having a bike park at Rollins Park, maybe Martin Park. Consensus, hey, go back and make sure you look at other city properties. Does it work? What are we missing? These guys will go over. They went back to the Trails Committee. We went to Conservation. We went to the Recreation Park Advisory Board. I talked to Unitil about trying to get some of their land. Circle back, coming back to discuss Martin Park in a little more detail, to see what would work, what doesn't work, what are the abutters' concerns. So I appreciate you guys being here. I'm also acting as Concord TV rep here today, so I'm going to man the camera, but if you have questions for me, I'll come and talk, but it's going to be turned over to Andrew and Craig, so thank you for coming.
Well, yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Sorry you missed the September meeting, but here we are. We'll go over this again, and we'll kind of hold off questions until the end. I think some of them might be answered in the presentation, but yeah. And feel free, if I'm going too fast or anything, feel free to stop me. So we're just gonna review what a mountain bike park is. The park is for kids, adults, to improve their skills, just to have fun, community meeting spot, jumps, dirt features, wood features, pump track. Just a fun, safe for people to get together, for kids. Be mentored by high school kids and everybody, high school kids, young kids to teach adults, back and forth. Be a nice addition to Concord's trails. Concord has, as everybody knows, a large amount of trails in Concord. Yeah, so it can be a spot to start a ride or end a ride. Just a nice addition to the city. Just a nice amenity that Concord needs. We'll just go over a few questions and answers. See if, I know some of you might have some of these questions, so we'll try to address some of them a little bit. Butters might be worried if there's noise. Based on other bike parks, we expect the noise level to be much lower than, I guess, the softball or football that's going on there now. It's just a handful of kids on bikes, a few adults. It's not going to be loud. You don't expect anybody to be bringing in music or doing anything like that. Will wildlife be affected? That'll be part of the permit process, but we don't expect so, because we're going to be leaving most of the trees, and the park's really not going to look much different. So I don't expect it to affect any wildlife in that small part of the park. Disrupt existing trails. So there's a loop trail there, and there's the blue trail that goes over to Rolinda. The answer is no. We won't be touching those trails. We're going to try to leave a buffer between the easternmost trail and the bike park, so you'll hardly even notice the bike park when you're on the trail. So yeah, everything's kind of just going to stay the same as it is. We'll be clear cutting, like I just said. We won't not be clear cutting. We'll be clearing some invasives in the front and clearing some of the deadfall that's already out there, and maybe clearing a few extra trees. But it's mostly just large pines out there. There's not much understory, so there's not a lot of work to do. Just getting rid of the invasives and a few extra trees. Kind of have the paths weave through the existing trees. We want the park to be shaded. We really want the park to look the same as it does now and feel the way it's the same as it does now. Might be concerns about unwanted activity. Over the years, there's been unwanted activity out in the park after hours or whenever, but we believe having more people in the park more often will actually self-police it and keep some of that unwanted activity out, including homeless camps and other stuff that's happening out there, or that has happened out there. Will be visible from the road. I'm gonna say no, not really. Will it be visible from the driveway there? Parts of it, yes, especially because we'll be removing the invasive plants, so you'll be able to see some of it when you're driving along the back driveway there. So back, more information on what a bike park is. For kids, for adults, all skill levels. We want kids, young kids on Strider bikes to be able to ride there. We want young kids like this. We want adults, all skills, all abilities. We want it to be a very welcoming place, as is other parks we've been to. More reasons why we need it. Concord has always had a huge cycling community. So there's more and more kids getting into it these days. So we want to offer this for all the cyclists around in Concord and beyond. To boost the local economy, store down the road, might get some extra business, some other restaurants and bars and whoever else might get some extra business from this if people come from other towns. Place, like I said earlier, a place for kids to improve their riding skills, become better riders. Obviously, we got kids out in the woods, outside, outdoors, off their screens, away from playing video games. A lot of people move here for our outdoor recreation opportunities, and this would just be another reason to live here and to move here. These bike parks are popping up around the state and around the country. We believe Concord should lead by example rather than a follower, so we want to be at the forefront of these things. So let's look at some examples here. We have some pictures of Keene. About 20,000 for the half acre. It's managed by NEMBA and volunteers for maintenance. You can see they have some events. We don't really foresee any big events like this happening there anytime. You can see it's a mix of dirt and some wood features.
And we have someone here from
Keene
too.
Yes, we do want to have that. We'll wait on that picture. We got some more pictures here. So this one's a little bit, this one is more of a clear cut kind of situation. The trees around the perimeter, a little different style you see in the next pictures. That's not really the look we're going for. I'm going to lean more towards something like Portsmouth, where it's in the forest, kind of weaving in and out of the trees, some dirt features, you can kind of see it. And when you're outside of here, this is not very noticeable. If you're going down the rail trail in Portsmouth, you hardly even know this is here. It's not very noticeable. Oh, by the way, this was a zero-cost bike park. So this was all done by hand labor and donated materials and donated construction labor. So no zero cost to anybody. There's a couple more pictures of them working on some of the donated labor on the left there, and on the right, working on the pump track. You can see how it goes through the trees. In Portsmouth, you have this straight line here is the rail trail, and on the other side there's a skate park and some ball fields. They have a sign. We have a sign similar to this that has some rules, hours, and then ideally we'd have some logos of people that made donations for the park. I think Keene does have that, their sign. It's a small little park in Virginia that we saw a picture of, how it goes through the trees, some wood features, some dirt. Some pictures from up at Highland, up in Northfield, paths going through the woods. You can kind of see how it works. And then,
Sure. So we had our first meeting in July of 2024. We were trying to find locations, and the two locations we proposed at that time was either at Rollins Park or Russell Martin. We ruled out Rollins Park because a lot of people did not want to have it there. They thought it wasn't a good fit for there. Russell Martin was still an option, but as Dave said, they asked us to look at some other locations. So that's something that we've done since then. Next slide. But overall, back in July, there was pretty good support for the concept overall. So since that meeting, we looked at a bunch of other locations. Dave mentioned we looked at some Unitil property over at Broken Ground. Unitil wasn't so thrilled about it. We considered around the Lincoln Financial area, some state property, off Clinton Street near Langley Parkway we looked at, but none of those locations, the property owners didn't think it was a good fit or said, no, thank you. And we had a whole other list of locations that we looked at, and everyone had something that was kind of a deal killer that made it not work. So we had tons of maps. We had a couple meetings, Dave and Andy and I, looking at a bunch of these locations. Now we presented it to the at the Conservation Commission and the Trails Subcommittee, and we asked them about the idea. We talked about some locations, and they kind of thought that Russell Martin was a really great fit. They felt that conservation lands wasn't the best fit for a bike park, and that a city park would be a better location. We met at RPAC, which is the Recreation and Parks Advisory Committee. They're advisory to the City Council, and they gave us approval to have the September meeting or this meeting, which is kind of the makeup because of the notices. And we decided to have this meeting for people that missed the last meeting.
And just a reminder, some of the things we looked at when we were looking at locations initially, over a year ago, we wanted a place that was, ideally we wanted it to be accessible for kids. A lot of kids that were able to ride their bike there.
Yep.
I know we can't please everybody across the city, but we want a lot of people to be able to ride their bike there. A place that's safe.
Need
All
to have
those
some,
things, yeah.
need to have some parking,
Yeah.
and it being on.
There's a lot of things to think about when we're looking at the different locations.
So yeah, we narrowed in on Russell Martin as the most suitable location for a lot of reasons that Andy just mentioned. We looked at the site. We did a couple site walks. We did a site walk on Monday with some neighbors to kind of figure out where the bike park might go within the park, what the layout might be. And based on what we've heard from people so far, we decided that a wooded feel, similar to Portsmouth, was kind of a better fit for the community. And we kind of have a goal to avoid changing the feel and the look of the park, and that's kind of based on what we've heard from you guys. And I think that's the direction that we're going. Next slide. So I don't know if this slide is you, Andy, but we kind of initially estimated $100,000 or $200,000 cost, depending on how much do-it-yourself we do. So these are things that if we get the go-ahead, we'll put more work and time into. Are we going to hire a professional to do some design and building? How much do-it-yourself are we going to do? We'll start seeking donations of equipment and materials, kind of like how they did in Portsmouth. We do plan to fundraise. We have a couple avenues where we hope we'll be able to raise some private money and donations and whatnot. And we don't intend to ask the city for any money for construction of the park. And so maintenance, this is something that's obviously important. We've talked to NEMBA. NEMBA is the New England Mountain Bike Association. They build and maintain a lot of trails, and we think a partnership with them or a similar model would be a good thing here to help maintain the park. As far as stuff like trash and whatnot goes, it would be like any other city park, carry in, carry out, the similar oversight that other city parks have. And we imagine there'd be some sort of partnership between volunteers and Parks and Rec to keep it all maintained and going.
Do you want to talk about keen maintenance real quick?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
I'm Mike Davern. I'm from Keene. I'm current chapter secretary of the NEMBA chapter over that way. And when we built our bike park, I was the president and kind of one of the people that helped spearhead that. As far as maintenance goes, we maintain the bike park 100% with the local riders. There's a lot of day-to-day maintenance where people are sweeping the track and clearing it off and maybe shaping berms, and that's just the people there riding there doing that work. There's this no dig, no ride kind of mantra. It's like you go and you show up and you do a little bit of work and you make the track good and then you ride. And that's just this mentality that that exists in kind of the dirt jump BMX world. We perpetuated it at our bike park. People are still doing it. We have shovels, brooms, rakes, all hanging underneath our start feature right there. People come out, use them, put them back when they're done. It's been a great model. I'm kind of the guy who has to go down and weed whack during the summer because everyone loves to maintain the track and the jumps and all that, but they don't want to weed whack and do stuff like that. So that's fallen to me a little bit. We just did a big weekend, workday Saturday, where the big wooden start feature we have in the middle of our park needed new deck boards. So we had a dozen people out, and when we just knocked that out, took care of that ourselves. The city hasn't had to do any maintenance for it. That was important to us. We didn't want it to cost the residents any money with building it because, you know, taxes are high everywhere. Taxes are really high in Keene. So we didn't want it to be perceived as this expense in our tax base. And then, you know, our Parks and Rec department was pretty lean too. So we didn't want to build this great thing and say, here you go, now maintain it. And they don't have the guys or the expertise to do it. I mean, sure, you don't appreciate having one more thing to help maintain and take care of. So, you know, we want to own it. And also, we're the riders. We know how it needs to look, how the jumps need to work, how the takeoffs and the landings all need to be. And so, you know, no offense to a Parks and Rec guy, but that's not their wheelhouse. So we wanted to own that. And we've taken care of it ourselves. It's worked. It's been great. Like I said, most of the high school kids do the work. It tends to be they're the guys with the most free time, it seems. So they do a lot of the work. They love to take care of the jumps and things like that the most. The more boring things, you got to kind of push them a little bit. But we're 5 years in now, going strong. It's looking great. It's well maintained. We're going to get a whole bunch more material to kind of refresh things. All of the rollers and berms and stuff have gotten just packed down, and you know, sand sits out and you rake it off. So we're refreshing that, but it's been easy and taken care of by volunteers. So the maintenance has been kind of simple, really.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions on maintenance at the bike park?
Is the Keene bike park located in a residential area?
It's in a residential area in a city park. So it's surrounded on three sides by neighborhoods.
So
One
within
side
a
is-
park system?
It's in a city park, right. Which works out great for us because we've got parking and bathrooms, and it's at a crossroads of our bike paths and all that. So it's got a lot of really good access. We looked at a lot of different places when we were looking at to pick a site as well. So some kind of off the beaten path, more in the woods, and this wound up being the best spot for us and the city, to be honest. We did cut a bunch of trees. I would encourage you, if you have good forest, to use that and keep shade, because that will help with maintenance. If you're in the beaten sun, that's gonna, you know, require more water to make things work and all that. And it's just hot and dusty and all that. So trees are great. We had to cut trees where our site is, but those trees were gonna get cut anyways. A lot of Keene got really impacted by the 1938 hurricane and all that. So they planted red pine everywhere. So all of those red pine that were planted in 1938 are all dying now at the same time everywhere. And the red pine scale is moving in and slowly killing them. So they really didn't want dead standing timber in that city park that's actively used a lot. So by us, we kind of saved the city money by going in and cutting those trees out for our bike park. So kind of two birds with one stone there.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Went wrong with park, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I love the pictures of the Portsmouth one. That's great, and that's what we wanted, really, but it didn't work for that. And we've subsequently planted some really mature elm trees that are probably 25, 30 feet tall now, give great shade, and a bunch of other smaller trees in that area. So if you play the long game, we're gonna have shade there again, and it'll be a forest again. Yeah.
All right, so we've got a map. So the green outline is the boundary of Russell Martin Park, the whole park. The yellow lines, those are existing trails that are maintained by the Trails Committee. And that red triangle is roughly the envelope that we were envisioning the bike park would go and where the features would be. And that red triangle is about 1.4 acres. So I don't think the entire thing would be packed full, but I think there would be trails and routes weaving through that area. Oh, and yeah, okay, that's fine. So this is just a zoom in. Sorry, it's kind of hard to follow everything. But the existing trails on the left, where it comes out on the road, that's where the kiosk is right now. There's a little kiosk entrance to the trail. So the bike park would be to the right of that. Along the front here is where there's a lot of like thick understory of invasive burning bush and whatnot that when it's cleared out a little bit, you'll be able to see into the understory of the trees a little bit. this green triangle, it's kind of matured white pines. Some of them are in kind of rough shape and there's a lot of deadfall, but those trees, we leave as many healthy trees as we could. We don't really want to be cutting down trees. And on the outside, the trees are really small in this area. It's like it was a field that had regrown, so, you know, inch diameter things. So if we went back there, there wouldn't be a whole lot of clearing. And the edge of the park on the top left, that gray area, it's kind of some higher ground with like a little bit of a rock outcrop. And we thought that would be a good boundary because it's some high ground where you could roll in. So that's roughly the area we want to work within. And within it, there's different boulders, there's different rock features, some natural things that we'd like to incorporate into the design. So this is just a little bit of a vision statement that we came up with just based on everything we've heard so far. So it's the Concord Bike Park is envisioned as a community gathering spot where kids and adults of all abilities can have fun on their bikes, improve their bike skills, and make new friends. The bike park is intended to blend into the existing forest without changing the feel of the park and to not affect abutters. So that's what we've worked on so far. Go ahead.
Probably just a few testimonials from Keene, some people. Sent in some reviews. Read that.
And I'll say, just talking around the neighborhood, I've talked to some very well-spoken teenagers that are very excited about this, and they kind of defy the stereotype of sulking teenagers who don't talk very well. So I thought that was really great. So, yeah, I mean, we want to hear from you guys about what you think and if we're on the right track. And, you know, we live in the neighborhood. We want to do it right. We want our neighbors to be happy. So, yeah. Sure.
You open it up for questions.
Could you bring up the large map again, please? That shows the area. My name's Ian West. I live on Ironworks Road, directly across the one before, please. Yep, the one before. The one, yeah, directly across. I'm gonna walk up and show you where I live. I live right here. My wife and I have owned that house now for 13 years, and I just want to preface everything I'm about to say with, I did not miss the September meeting. I was not notified of the September meeting. You and I are neighbors. I was not notified of that meeting. So there's that. And I also want to say that I am not in any way against having a bike park in Concord. I grew up mountain biking, my kids bike, I live in that area, I love that area, and I very much appreciate mountain biking. Couple of things that I think are worth noting. This process has been a little bit fraught because all of the abutters who live in that area did not receive notifications. And now, and I can't speak for all of my neighbors, I feel like we are already on the defense. So there's that. I also think linking about my mountain bike park to a solution to the homelessness issue in Concord is disingenuous. And those are two very different issues. So I also want to point that out. I'm also very concerned about the fact that there have been a number of alterations to Martin Park over the past several years, probably more. Certainly there have been additions since I have been there, and certainly there were additions before that. There's a trail, which I know most bikers know, that runs, I'm going to stand up here, runs from here to here. There's also kind of a pump track area here. And if you go on the NEMBA website, there is even a trail that is listed, and I believe it's through Trail Forks here, and it is called Pump Line. So this idea that we're going to keep the bikers in the bike park concerns me greatly, and I feel like I'm kind of being a little bit sold a bill of goods when there have been alterations, and there continue to be alterations in that area. So that's all I'm going to say for now. I know others want to speak, and I want to be conscious of that.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed a lot of those things that were out there, and we thought that if kids are out there building stuff already, maybe it's a sign that it'd be great to give them something to use so they don't have to build them. And I know this one along the edge there, it's like full of poison ivy and stuff, and it's been there, but
It's more.
yeah.
It's more of an option to make it official and to allow, a better riding experience for the kids that are out there working, and then just yeah, just make it more official and make it a better location.
And I think there's gonna be an education component to it too. You know, I know in Keene, you guys were talking about how you wanted to build the culture of, you know, maintaining the park and caring about your park, and that's kind of what we want to go for. And I think if this did happen, we'd want to be in touch with you guys and all the neighbors so that we can hear about things happening that might be an issue and do what we can to address them.
So I'm gonna follow that up. I also live across the street. I live west. We are already the neighborhood police for that park.
Yeah.
I don't want to take on that responsibility. David, you know, we're in touch a lot. The police say, if you see something, call us. And it happens quite a bit. So I don't want to be responsible for this, and I'm just gonna put that out there. I did want to start, by saying that love the concept, love this idea. I think this is a fantastic idea for Concord. Nobody who is opposed to this is opposed to the idea. Actually, you know, I'm not as avid mountain biker as people in this room, but I think it'd be so much fun. However, my issue is the location, and I hope that, you know, you hear that. We're not saying this is a terrible idea. 100% supportive. Not in that area. Not squeezing it into that area. I think the decision that was made without a butter input was very subjective. You know, we heard things that was based on accessibility, safety, parking, rock features, right? There should be, I'm curious what the other parks in the state use as their rubric, their criteria. I know you know that there's existing criteria to build a trail in Concord. And, you know, we heard you say that there's red flags of all the other locations. There were non-negotiables. There's also a list of non-negotiables for the trails, for building a new trail in Concord. What are those red flags? And, you know, it won't bore this room with reading all of them, but, you know, some of them would set off alarms if you were to apply the criteria of this park to the Trails Committee rubric. You know, safety concerns, parking, traffic, maybe not that much. It doesn't sound like that'll add too much, but people don't know how to use the one way in that park to begin with right now, so I don't imagine that getting better. Negatively impacts special areas of, you know, concern for habitat, plant life, wildlife. Yeah. Trailheads, you know, trails might lead to an attractive nuisance, potentially, if you're permanently altering the landscape. Difficult to police. Yeah, it might be if you can't see it from the road. Close proximity to residential dwellings. I think you'll hear from somebody who has an opinion about that. And community opposition. Again, not opposed to the park, opposed to the location. So hit some red flags there.
Well, I mean, I'm that thing right in the middle there of the field. So I'm Lisa Akazap. My son's a professional BMX bike rider, trail rider of the year 2020 for the national. He lives all over the country. I've been to many trails all over the country watching him. So he's made, you know, he's started riding there when he was a kid. He's 42 years old, 41 years old now. And he, that's what they call it IWT, Ironworks Trails. He comes home and, you know, he reminisces about his years in the woods there. But he also says, Mom, you don't want the bike park there. It's not fit for those woods. I mean, he's in Austin, Texas, and they're making trails and, you know, they're on private land with permission. And, Mom, you don't want the bike park there. I love a bike park. I've been to many bike parks. I just think this location is not good for what you envision it to be, which is something that draws people from other communities here. You want it to be a destination where, you know, you have, I know Andy presented about a year ago that you wanted it to be a place where you could do events and competitions and things like that. And that sounds great. But there's, guys, if you've been in there, there's wetlands in there. We've got peepers in the spring. We've got pileated woodpeckers in the back there, which they're protected species. So you can't You can't disrupt them, you can't harass them. We've got barred owls in the back there. We've got woods in our little south end of Concord there that I love biking, I support biking, but this isn't the right place for it. We've got, I think Portsmouth is right on the money. Put it out by a rail trail.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do here in Concord. We're trying to build up the rail trail. We're gonna put all of this wonderful new building and activities like Austin. Has anyone been to Austin? Austin is very much built along the Lakeburg Lake, and everything is, they do so much along that waterway and walking trails. And so I know we're not Austin, but what I'm saying is I foresee this becoming something where larger and taking over what little wooded space we have back there. There are all abutters along the back. I'm see that white spot in the middle of the field? That's me. So over the years, I've lived there 30 years. I've called Dave twice in 30 years. So I'm not a pain for you, for the most part.
3 times, doesn't it?
Okay, 3 times. So I love children. It makes me happy hearing kids playing and having fun out there. It gives me joy. And when I lived in that house, when I moved in, there was one big field. There was no road around me. There was no fields on the side of me except high grass fields. So all of this has happened in the years that I've lived there. And honestly, for the most part, I loved it. I loved hearing kids play, and I love the park. But this is, to me, not the right place for a bike park. I would support a bike park. Pretty much. Give me some other options here, guys. We're not going to go into the forest and disrupt nature, and give me some other options, which is what we said a year ago. We said that a year ago. Give us some other options. I would help, but this is not the right place for it. And is it because we're not pushing back? We're just average folk, and is it because we're not making a big stink and we're not pushing back? Again, thanks for listening. I support the community.
We heard you last year. At least why we spent the last 12 months looking at other locations.
I'm sure you weren't just doing it for me, Andy.
No, for that July meeting, we had done a lot of initial work, and we proposed 2 locations, and Rollins Park was, like you said, definitely a no because of a lot of the issues that you said. And this was more of, okay, we're gonna back off of Rollins Park and go a little bit further out.
Do we get the same courtesy?
No, we did.
I was led to believe that you were backing off from Ironworks. I thought it was a dead issue. That's why I wasn't looking at things on the website, and then when we didn't get a notice for the last one, I didn't even know there was a notice to not be getting.
This is an identical meeting to that last one. Like, that was a mistake. We're very sorry, and that's why we're here. I was very disappointed about that because that's not how we wanted it.
But it was represented, so somehow some people did come, and I signed up to be notified of things, and I never got one notification.
Yeah, I know. It went out on social media on the website, but the body noticed it.
The last meeting in September was the second public meeting just on this topic. So that's when it sent out 180 letters to the abutters of the park. So it was mailed 8 days prior. It's on us.
I'm not trying to beat
No,
that
but I
dead
just want to make sure
horse.
everybody's aware that this conversation, the same conversation we had in September, is unfortunate because you're the one that, I remember going to the Recreation Park Advisory Board that night. I says, I get a phone call saying somebody didn't get a letter. I'll be back in touch. And that's why we're having this meeting. And so this is the exact same conversation, the same talking points, still getting input. No decisions, it's just trying to build that base of how do we move forward with a bike park in Concord?
Yeah.
And the 12 or so spots we looked at, everybody kept coming back to here, so that's why we're having the conversation.
So with the conservation committee, when you, I mean, they know there's wetlands here, so how does that get past conservation?
It's a city park, and this is a park activity they felt would be better for a park. And if we do get a go-ahead to go into design, yeah, we wouldn't be able to build on top of wetlands. Like, a lot of the wetter areas are further back. You know, a lot of the keepers are over by the softball field a little more.
Well, there's vernal pools all throughout that area there.
I think we have some other questions, I mean, I just wanna get
Yeah, that's fine, sorry. I didn't.
no, good, it's good. It's good.
Hi, Ian McGregor, Sunset Avenue, so like half mile away. Just wanna say, like, I've been to the 9th Street Bike Park in Austin, it's fantastic. It's on a bike route, and it's funny to hear, cause that's the analogous location would be at Rollins Park, where you've got the old trolley line down Broadway, there's plenty of room for a bike path. The one in Texas is in the middle of the neighborhood, but, they can make it there. The comment I wanted to share is that it's not that this is happening, but it's that kids are going out and cutting trees and clearing trails and making jumps all over the city. It's happening. You're sharing that with us tonight with the Ironworks trail system that's out there. That existed in my town where I was growing up, and those same places it's where you went to smoke pot, and it's where you took your girlfriend to middle school. It's a place where not great things are already happening. So, as far as I can see, this is just bringing what is already happening into the light. It is giving kids and citizens a safe place to do the thing that they want to do. The people that want to go do drugs and, fool around in the woods can go do that as well. But they're not being helped by somebody else going and packing down the trails and clearing the trees and making it easier for them to go do the nefarious things. The people that want to ride bikes just want to ride bikes. And this seems like a great place to do it. I got more to say, but that's.
My name's Rob Hanson. I live on Rolinda Ave on the cul-de-sac. And yes, there are things that people like to do back there, believe me. Couple of women smoking crack during the day. Never take their picture when they're doing it. They don't like it. If you go on that pump line trail, you'll see probably half a dozen trees that are burnt from the ground up 40 to 30 feet. And I guess I'm not really, I think the idea of a bike park's great, but I don't like the idea of it being where it is. And part of it is we get people coming across our lawn, sometimes on a bike, walking, no big deal, okay? I don't want any more of that. And I certainly don't want someone to fall and sue us either, okay? So my question for you guys is, what are you gonna do to make sure that doesn't happen?
What?
Prevent people from taking the shortcut, okay, across our property, and other people that live here too. Because it happens.
I guess I'm not really sure why an addition of a bike park would change anything.
So people are not taking the yellow trail, they're going other ways?
Well, why, you know what? I'm just gonna tell you that these people could have been going on those trails out and they chose to take the short way. That's what they did. All right? Because it's a little bit shorter for them to get to the road.
So they're cutting through your property instead of taking the
Yes, they
trail?
are.
Okay.
I'll give you my cell phone, I'll give you my email, I'll follow up with you, that's a separate, even if this goes here or not, that's a separate conversation we should have as a property owner. How do we
Yeah.
make that better? So I'll give you my email.
If it wasn't for that, would I care? Probably not, but I don't wanna see any more than we already see.
I don't want to see stuff like that happen.
I just have a question that I feel like a lot of people will use the walking trail to get to that. The walking trail that it's rolling up. So that's a walking trail, I feel like people use that as a bike trail access. So
Yeah, sure.
is that an issue if you want to preserve that walking trail portion? The other thing is that South Street's pretty narrow as far as kids riding their bikes down South Street. You know, there's not really a shoulder for kids to ride their bikes. So I just thought I'd point that out.
You also mentioned this being a place to start and end a ride, and again, we've talked about other bike parks that are near, larger systems or bike paths. None of that is here, so I'm not really understanding the start and end a ride argument for this location.
That's just easily accessible to, winning roads or heading down, so only a mile or two away to get to the other trails.
Yeah, no, it's not directly within the trail system. Yeah, we looked at a lot of locations and there weren't a whole lot of places where there was publicly owned property that were accessible. I mean, it was a lot of work. We looked at lots and lots of locations and nothing was ideal. It really, a lot of the arrows kept pointing back to this location as being the most suitable.
Any other questions? People haven't talked, that people want to comment?
I just have there's a lot going through my head right now, and I apologize, because there's a lot of things that I want to say that I can't say. I don't want to cause any arguments, but a lot of the things that have been brought up, unfortunately, are individual problems that need to be addressed separately, to David's point. The people going across your front lawn, unfortunately, regardless of where it's going to be, they're still going to come across your lawn. That's your job to police that. I don't think anybody's asking anyone who is abutting to be a police officer for that location. I don't want to get into an argument. I apologize. Nobody had asked for that. I appreciate the feedback. I have 6 children. I live on 40 Rockingham Street. All of my kids bike, and they bike to South End safely, no matter where they go. They have access, and all the way down to my 5-year-old who takes off on his bicycle all the time. So accessibility is prime for the South End. South End is growing. There's a lot of children in the South End. I think that this is more than welcome by the majority of the people that are in the South End. I think that it's well received for the vast majority of people. What I'm hearing is a lot of reasons from the abutters as to, I don't want it there. This sounds all too familiar. I'll reference our runlet, where we know that we need it, we know that we have to do it, but I don't want it here, I want it there, I want it over here, I want it over there. How long, Kara, I don't want to put you on the spot, how long was that argument and fight in the city of Concord?
We're not gonna talk about that.
Far too long, far too long, right? But the necessity of we're growing, we have to evolve. This is a part of the evolution cycle for the city. I am more than willing to help any way that I can to make this thing move forward. After your guys' hard work, I saw a multitude of options that were exhausted. The red flags that were brought up were not because of the abutters, it was more so the fact that the site itself didn't work. It didn't physically work for the layout of what they were looking to accomplish. So I sorry for ruffling feathers, and I know that it's maybe unpopular opinions, but a lot of this stuff can really go away if we just allow some things to evolve. Sorry.
So I want to put some things out as well. My name is Pam Sarah. I live on Ironworks Road, and I grew up in the house I live in now. So we moved into that house when I was 5 years old. So I know these woods really well. And what's left there now is a fragment of what was there when I was a kid. This is really like a little oasis of what used to be there. And, you know, when we were kids, I mean, we enjoyed those woods by playing in the woods and exploring the woods. And I can tell you from the busy neighborhood that I lived in for a long time in Boston, that the more people you have out biking on the streets, the safer the streets are. Because I would bike in really busy areas where there was a lot of traffic, but there were also a lot of people biking. And the more kids you have biking on the streets, the more careful the cars are gonna be. They're gonna start to slow down. We were all over the place on our bikes when we were kids. And I know you hear the complaints, well, yeah, but it's not as safe as it used to be. It would be safer if the kids were out riding their bikes. You don't need a special place in the woods for the kids to ride their bikes. And it's not a NIMBY issue for me, because it's not in my backyard. And my other concern is that you can say the walking trails are separate from the bike park. When I walk in there on a really beautiful day, and it's quiet and it's peaceful, it's like an oasis, and you can feel your body relax, you can feel your blood pressure going down. While these trails might be physically separate, there is no way that you are not going to hear noise from the bike park, especially if you're talking about making this a destination, people coming from all over the city. So those of us who enjoy just walking in the woods, having a quiet walk in the woods, and that's from all over the neighborhood, from Rolinda, from everywhere. We all know people who go over there and walk their dogs. So for me, the whole separation thing, it's like, you're still gonna hear it. It's gonna be loud, especially when you've got a lot of people in there. And it's also, as Lisa pointed out, it is a very environmentally sensitive area with the vernal pools and, you know, the pileated woodpecker, if anyone's never seen one. They're not super common and they're shy, and they do need vast tracts of quiet space, and they like the down trees. So it's a fragile place. And again, like, if this is, I'm gonna say this, if this is the only option for this bike park, then maybe Concord doesn't have a bike park. I think you have to, I don't know, go back to the drawing board, but that is not a place for a bike park.
Hey, my name is Erin Waters. I grew up in Concord and then just moved back, and I love being back here. And I just wanted to talk about the culture that we can create in a bike park space. To me, it could be a hub of community where we teach each other like how to be good trail stewards. Being a good trail steward does not mean cutting across trails or not going on trails. Being a good trail steward means that you're not building pirated trails or like road jumps and stuff like that. Being a good trail steward means like not like coming and playing crazy loud music. But I don't think that like those are like, I don't think that symbolizes the community that we have. And I bike all the time all around Concord. I grew up biking in and around Concord. It does not feel like a safe place to bike all the time. And more people are biking and it is getting better, and that is wonderful. But there's this awesome group of teenage kids that like roam all around and they have no home. And they don't get to learn from the adults in our communities. They don't get to learn like how to be safe on bikes. So they're like biking the wrong way on roads, they're not wearing helmets. And I think like that's my pitch for a bike park generally. I love this trail network, and also it is like has so much invasive species happening. Like I think that there's a way for us to incorporate conservation into this. It is not a dead silent space. Like you can hear the highway. I don't want that to go away. Like I don't want it to become this like crazy overwhelmed place. I would be so sad if you went there and like people are yelling all the time. Like I love going back there with my dog, but I also think that like we are a part of this space and we have to shape it in some way, and being a part of how we manage it is so important. Like I wouldn't use some of those trails right now because there's so much poison ivy that it's not like a great place to be. It's not a great place for animals in some ways. I think that there's a way to do it like safely and wonderfully, and like have not just the abutters become the stewards of this park, but like the larger community invested in that space and also looking out for it, just like the abutters. That's my hope. I think we can do that, but that's kind of my dream. Thank you.
That's kind of what we had in mind. I mean, that's when we visit parks like in Keene or elsewhere, we see that happening, and that's kind of what we want to have. You know, a place that there's a sense of ownership. You know, if you want to ride, this is the place that you go. You know, we've already had teenagers come up to us saying, "Hey, let me know when you start. I want to help." So that's really part of.
Like we said in the presentation earlier, we really don't want to change the feel or the look of the park. We want it to be as minimal as possible. You can hardly even notice it.
I just live on Ironworks right across from here too, and I hear both sides, and I just want you to know that our family is in that woods, all of the woods, and not just on the trails, but we are in those little areas that nobody ever goes, and we understand the beauty of it. And I think one of the things that's it's kind of hard for me because we are a biking family, but it's those bike parks. I sometimes just sit in them. If they're in the trees, it's not ugly. It is still a beautiful place to be. The other thing is that I think that we're thinking that it's going to be a loud and crazy, like bunch of kids, hoodlums, or I'm not sure what people are thinking, but I think I said at the last meeting is I invite people to go to these parks. It's so positive, and it's a teaching of all ages and things. But remember, this is a park. They're not going to have lights on it, so it's going to be a dawn. I mean, it's not going to be a long time where these kids or adults are going to be in the park. Once it's dark, it's done. The winter time, we're not biking in the winter time. We're not biking when it's raining. So I mean, I think that, and I love that you said that, yes, it's a change. It's a different thought. I think that it can be done well, and I think it can be done in a way that's still keeping the forest beautiful and actually helping it. There is so many. I bet a lot of you haven't even honestly walked in that area. There has been some stuff going on in there, and I do believe that if we invite, I think the other lady said, more bikers on the road, everything will be safe, but it will be a place where that they can bike in an area safely together. And I mean, yeah, I want us to remind each other that it's not going to be this all day, all night party or something like that. It's actually a very small amount of time where you can actually enjoy that. And so, yeah. I mean, right now they have football right across from me with the big lights. They have the softball games all weekend long, girls cheering and stuff. It's very loud, actually. And so I think actually the bikers are going to be the quieter if this happens, just to let you know. But it is a park. We have the vets, they have the dogs yipping. This is a neighborhood that has these things going on. And sometimes we have to accept a little bit of change and have a discussion about what that looks like. So that's just my 2 cents.
Now is next.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt Bowser. I'm the Vice President of the Central New Hampshire chapter of NEMBA, and we manage 8 trail systems throughout the Central New Hampshire region, 2 of which are in Concord. And in every single case of the trail systems, as we put in more trails and develop new opportunities for people to bike in, the incidence of vandalism and road trails has gone down. Every single case out of 8. And I'm sure that Mike Davern from the Keene chapter, and you can speak to any other trail builders in the area who are actively managing trail systems. The same thing is happening. It gives people a sense of ownership when they have a space like this, and they self-police. It's really kind of a remarkable thing. So take it for what it's worth, but I know that there's a lot of people gunning for this, and I know that the Rundlet School will have opportunity and will be wanting to utilize this. And I know that there's several programs out there that are, geared towards, the middle school age, and Scott Lewis here can speak about that, the Outride program. You can speak more to it, but middle schoolers out on bikes, out in the open space, I think everybody wins, and you're not gonna get the kind of, less than desirable characters hanging around in spaces like that when you have kids and parents all, hanging around in that area, so.
All right. I'm sorry, I apologize for coming in late tonight. I live with my wife in the house that's the closest abutter to this. I have a son who has spent his whole life riding BMX. He's done it professionally. He's been to every kind of bike park all over the world, actually, but especially when we lived in this house. Anywhere there was a new place to ride, he was there with his friends. They traveled very well. And all of their friends traveled very well to those places. And a lot of times those places were overwhelmed by their presence. A lot of times, this is a planned park, I understand that, there's a lot of work that's gone into it, a lot of thought. But you can plan all you want, you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. So when I hear it's going to, who's gonna police this? It's not gonna self-police. Just having people there and present isn't gonna keep out undesirables. And I'm not talking about keeping undesirables out, I'm talking about a lot of activity, a lot of, it's gonna be a new open space that people you don't count on being there are gonna be there. The other thing is, I'm really not, and I've never been an environmentalist or a tree hugger, so to speak, but I spend a lot of time since I spent time in these woods more than anybody here has, except for, I'm sure, my neighbor across the street, Pam. But in the last 30 years that we've lived here, it's gone through a lot of changes. And one great change was putting in the trails. And it was an Eagle Scout project, and it was very well received. And there are people that come in from all over the city, and who knows where else, because it's a nice place to go out and enjoy nature, enjoy the quiet, enjoy the birds. Yeah, there is, at times, there is a lot of poison ivy in a couple of key places, but I've gone throughout all those woods, including, this is one of the less traveled areas that you're talking about creating the bike park in. It has a lot of undulating and rock formations, vernal pools, that's already been discussed and everything. And there are barred owls, there are pileated woodpeckers that nest not just in the down trees, they're nesting in the trees that are either diseased or whatever, they're coming down. One time I walked by a tree and there's all these wood chips on the ground. What are those from? Like, there's nothing on the ground. I look up and there's a big old carved out spot that a pileated woodpecker can fit in. So I'm not hearing, like, what's the plan? I know that this is a wetlands area on the USGS. I know that nesting areas for these types of birds are protected. You know, what kind of consideration is being done in that realm? You know, a bike, I'm not against the bike park, okay? Like I said, I have a son who is now 41 years old, and he still does it, and he does it enthusiastically, and he does it responsibly. And so that's not what I'm against. I'm against the location. I'm not a angry old man who's saying, get off my lawn. I enjoy this park, and having a bike park is important. I don't like this at all.
Hi, my name's Tim Bowler. I'm a teacher at Concord High School. I probably know a lot of the kids you've seen downtown Concord doing wheelies in the middle of the road. I've learned that a swerve is actually a move where they try to avoid a car or go towards a car, which I'm not a big fan of, but it's what they do. And when I talk to these kids who are enthusiastic about riding bikes, I get the impression that they're doing what they're doing in the road or whatnot because they don't really have anywhere to ride. I think Concord does have some trails. These kids really want to hit jumps. They want to hit berms. They want to have fun like that. I think that's why when you look at this park, you see a lot of pirate trails that are out there with jumps and whatnot. They don't have anywhere else to do the type of riding that they want to do. My other thought is, you know, this is a public park. It's a city park. I think its purpose is to probably serve the community. And that's not just the people who live directly by it. I think we all enjoy nature in different ways. I'm hearing some people saying, I like the quiet, I like how serene it is. I think we have to consider how other people like to enjoy nature as well. But I think when I think about this park and the time that I've spent here, I see a lot of kids out there in the neighborhoods north of the park, closer to Runlet, the south of the park, and I know that they're always out there looking for a jump, looking for something to do. I think the park gives them a place to do that in a safe way.
Still haven't heard anything about the environmental aspects of it. Is there any information on that?
Yeah.
I think, I'll speak on behalf of that. I'm David, Parks and Rec. Part of this year-long process is we look at sites. We just want to narrow things down before anything we do has to have an environmental review, has to have, fish and game and everybody, but we don't want to spend any resources if we have one or two locations and then we have to do the deep dive. So this is, Lisa and I have talked for a long time. It's a concept. Even if everybody was in agreement, and even if city council says move forward, there's no design, there's no environmental review, that has to happen. So we're trying to get to one of those one or two sites that will work before we do that deep dive. But that has to happen before any project in any city park. So that will be done.
And a cursory review that within that triangle, where if there's vernal pools out there, they're not in that red triangle.
They're seasonal.
Right.
Yeah. Right. No definition. They are seasonal. All those pieces of ledge in the deep pockets, those are all filled with water. It depends on how wet we are in the wintertime, but you can see it. If you're on the trail and you just go off a little bit, right on the main yellow trail, there's one that's right down by where those trees are down most recently.
Can you hear from the NEMBA rep who spoke earlier, what some of the reception or pushback they got when they cited their park in a residential area?
We didn't really have any pushback. It's a really busy, active park. There's probably 4 or 5 baseball, softball fields, soccer fields, hockey rink / rollerblade rink in the summer, a couple playgrounds. So it's a busy, active park, a swimming pool, all sorts of things. So there's people in and out of there all the time. The people who abut the park probably see that as a great asset. It's a great convenience. They have gates, in the fence between their property and the park, so they go back and forth through. So this is just one more great addition. From a pushback standpoint, the closest we got was people didn't want to see the red pines get cut. But once you explain that the red pines are all dying and they're all going to get cut anyways, it's not and also once they found out they weren't just cutting them to put in a parking lot for more softball players and stuff like that. So, it wasn't a controversial location. It was, the people that, they loved it. I mean, it's been great. No big deal. We looked at half a dozen different places. We ruled them out usually because of wet. We don't want to build our bike park in a wet, low-lying area any more than people want to fill in a vernal pool, because that's just a lot of work and it's maintenance and it's not a sustainable trail. We don't build trails in wet areas, so I don't suspect if it goes further and they go to like a site plan and start designing things, they would want to put trails there. It would be my guess. I've never looked at the property or anything. So.
You got any complaints from neighbors?
No, I mean, again, it's so much quieter than a softball game. I mean, we've got, the beer league softball games going on at night until 9 o'clock under the lights. So it's a very different, it's also a lot more populated. Like if you were to look at an aerial map of where our park is, I mean, it's in town. It's like, this looks fairly country, it's on the fringe, it looks like a little bit. Yeah, I don't know what you're.
That park reminds me a lot of Rollins. It's like the Keene version of Rollins Park.
Okay.
A lot bigger than Rollins.
Yeah, it's a good sized park. We have a big disc golf course, horseshoes. There used to be a giant campground in there. It's big and well used as a city park, not as a forest. We've got other city parks that are primarily forest land. We've got mountain bike trails in there, but
Can you talk a little bit, maybe it's probably more relevant to the Portsmouth model, and Plymouth is very similar to Portsmouth, where their bike park is not on a rail trail or anything, but it's on mountain bike trails. I would think, like you said, I think Amanda made a great point, kids are in school all day. If they're not in school, they probably aren't gonna be going to the bike park to skip school, but.
So it's interesting, I'm down there a lot. There'll be kids there at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday morning. School's in session, there's an elementary school abuts the park as well, so that's how populated it is. And you'll get homeschool families will bring their kids there for PE and they'll use the park. Or someone with a kid who's younger than school age, they take their kids there Monday through Friday during school hours, because it's a nice quiet time for their 3-year-old to roll around on the balance bike and have a good time without the big kids, intimidating them. Even if the big kids are great with them, it's still, when you're 3 and there's 15-year-old boys, they're intimidating. So.
But as far as use and overuse and crowding,
So the first year, we opened it in the summer of 2020, so COVID, and there was nothing for anybody to do, except we opened this big thing outside that was, and it was late enough in the summer that we were at least going outside and not worrying too much. So it was fairly busy that summer. 40, 50, 60 kids there on the evening, having fun, kids, adults, everybody, we all had nothing to do. It's dropped off significantly, but I can't go to the park without seeing people there. We were there Saturday morning, 8:30, relatively cool this past weekend. There were kids on Strider bikes by 9 o'clock riding, and all day, a handful of people rode all day. Was it ever busy? No. After school in the spring, when the weather starts to get nice, it gets busy. In the summer, when it gets brutally hot, evenings are popular. Daytime, not so much, So it's not overwhelming anymore as far as the number of people that come, but it's used constantly.
Yeah, and then I guess kind of speak to, maybe not with your design, but just how you worked with the terrain that was there. I mean, I think that's the important point that Craig and Andy are trying to convey, is that it's a selective, they're building it, they're not bulldozing a whole swath of land. I don't know, and Keene might have considered that, again, giving a different scenario.
Our location is very different, I suspect, than this, in that this room is very similar to our location. We have about as much elevation change right here as we have in Keene at our particular park. So we had to build an elevated wooden feature, like a giant 2-story deck, so people can get that speed to roll in and then pump and ride through things. So we made our terrain, and then of course you built the rollers and the berms and all of that, so you get kind of natural undulations. Not having seen the property, I would imagine they're gonna try to use a lot of natural terrain that already exists to build these fun things. And again, stay out of the water, because they don't wanna build a trail through water any more than I wanna ride my bike through water. So we had to make that, that fun, surface. And we built up, because you don't wanna build down, because where's the water gonna go is down, and then you're gonna be back to having to deal with water, so. So you build in drainage, you deal with all of that, because to build a bike park in a really wet spot, you're wasting your time and your money. They're not gonna do that, I would guess.
But it is wetlands.
I'll say a couple, I don't know anything about the parks or the other locations, or Concord for that matter much. I come here for soccer games with my kids. But like our bike park, the area didn't have a lot of unwanted activities happening. All of the parking lot was kind of in the back, and there was some tree line, and so people would park in there, and probably things went on. But by putting in the bike park, cutting up the understory of the trees, giving some sight lines, and then having it being busy and active, you don't see that anymore. People aren't going back in there doing bad things. The people that want to do bad things don't want to do bad things around people. They want to do it in the woods alone in their privacy. So I think you're going to find that it's not pulling in bad activities, it's only pushing them out, whether that's good or bad. I mean, it's good in a sense, but people are going to continue to do bad things. And if you got homeless in there, homeless are still going to be homeless. It doesn't solve that problem, but if, they don't want to be in there. People doing stuff.
I have a question that kind of dovetails with that. I know you earlier on were talking about flat or terrain doesn't really matter. You'll work with what you have. And was there any discussion about using any of the flat land in the other areas of the field at this location? No, not in the woods at all. Like you said, actual
Not in
field.
the woods.
To the left of the front, like south there.
Like close to the softball.
Actually, the field to the left of the road is it's probably the wettest spot in the whole park. I mean, you can actually see where the standing water is. I mean, the city many years ago had a plan to put a ball field there, but it is 100% wetlands, and we would have to. That'd be harder, I think.
You can't even mow during that, right across from where I am, it's always wet.
No.
Sometimes it's like, especially further back.
And the trees make a much more pleasant experience back in there, having shade and stuff to spend your summer afternoon out in the middle of a hot field on dirt. It's not fun. That's why our bike park gets more popular in the evenings in the summer. We did have to cut more red pines down because of the red pine scale, and we've got a lot more sun in there this summer, and it really made the park drier. It was also a very dry summer once it quit raining weekends, but it really made the park drier and leads to more maintenance and things like that. It's amazing how much some shade just helps hold moisture down in there in the ground, in the woods.
Are you done at you're not looking at any other spaces, right? You said you looked at some and you got pushed back, so you decided against them?
This is a recap of what we started last year. We put a half a dozen other sites. We all came back no, so we came back to have a conversation about this site. I mean, what I'm hearing, I don't want to paraphrase, is general support of a bike park. 100% environmental concerns here, 100% supervision concerns here, wildlife concerns. So I mean, I can go back. Conservation is not going to give us any more information. The Trails Committee's looked at it. We'll take a look at it again, but there's not too many sites that we've identified. And a lot of times, as you as a group talk about it, you go home and you say, what about this? What about that? Something may come up that we're not aware of. We've looked at it, pretty closely. But again, this is still a concept, and the goal is, if we can move forward with one or two sites to say, hey, how do we do whatever the environmental is, the parking issues, it would be beneficial just to try to keep this going. So I don't say we're done looking, but we've looked and nothing stood out with multiple committees looking at it, but we'll continue looking at it.
I considered putting maps of all locations we looked at up here, but figured that was too much information for this meeting. But we looked at a lot.
I can put the map online on a website just to, cause you guys know the community probably at times better than we do. You know, so when you all go back, if there's another spot that we're overlooking or you want us to go back and double check, I think that's important. That's part of this conversation. You know, it's not like we're gonna build this tomorrow. It's not like we can go to city council, have their Monday meeting and say, hey, we wanna go forward, because we're not there yet. But this is part of the gathering information, trying to build consensus, trying to figure out what we've missed, what we haven't missed, and continue going forward. Anybody have any comments that have not talked? There's a lot of you here. Kids, young kids, parents.
We just wanted to say that we're fully in support. Thank you guys for all the work you've done.
Anybody else? Oh, we've got a couple new ones over there.
I'll jump in. So I ride mountain bikes a bit. Concord has a great selection of technical mountain bike trails. That would be nice to have sort of some flowy pump track to practice and some of those skills on. So definitely looking forward to the bike park. I live in the downtown area, so not really in a butter or anything here. But someone said I've driven on the roads and I see those kids doing their swervies, I think they're called, and we can. I've had them come so close that I end up, if I see them, I stop my car pretty much. We can get them into a safer place to ride. All for that.
I was gonna say earlier, with the noise concerns, I spent the last 9 Fridays at Highland, because 3 of my kids are riding mountain bikes, and I'm walking around with my toddlers the whole time, so it's a huge fun time for me. But it's surprisingly so quiet for me to just walk around and just listen to people skid out on their bike. You know, like they're just like stopping fast and that's it, and then they get back on the chairlift. So it's like, it's actually really quiet for that. I live right on South Fruit Street, so riding their bikes, I always tell my kids, because it's scary for my kids aged 13, 9, and 6 to ride their bikes on some of the roads. And so I tell them, I said, I'd rather people be mad at you for riding on a sidewalk instead of riding in the road. And so for them to be able to have, wherever the bike park might be, to have that space as a safe place for them to ride, and I can literally sit and oversee them, it would make me feel so much better just having it close by in our community. So I think that we definitely, as a community, can come together and figure it out, but it'd be great.
Go ahead, Calvin, do it.
Just a real quick comment on the multiple use of those trails. I live on Newcastle, which is just north of that picture. I access through the Willinda. I think my kids do too, on a daily basis. They are in there every single day. My oldest son especially. Him and his buddies are in there biking. And I know, like, I love running in there too. So I would much rather be on a trail that I know that bikes actually aren't on. And so having a place where they can be and I don't get run over. I love riding my bike, and I've ridden those trails. And I've come across hikers and bikers and people with their bikes, and like, I know exactly what that's like, and I don't like it. But for them to go into a place where they can be safe and have jumps and berms and features that they're made for it, and not just the kids figuring it out themselves, is a huge benefit. And I know I would feel safer with knowing that my kids are going to a place that was built for them. and not necessarily something that they kind of figured out on their own, like for sure, and it was definitely not safe when I was growing up. But having that place and being sort of, I would love to much enjoy those trails that are already current, like the yellow lines. I want to hike that trail. I want to walk that trail. I want to run that trail, and not have to worry about kids riding their bikes and potentially running me over. I don't want to ride those trails and come across somebody who's running two dogs and get caught up in their leashes. So having that special place, yes, it might be connected or close to it, but having a space, I can guarantee you, like I know my kid, he'll be in that park and he won't leave. I'll have to go pull him out of there. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
My name is Chris, and I don't live in that part of town. I live in a more urban area. It seems like, and we have White Park near us, and it's such a huge asset to have a city park that's been developed in a thoughtful way. And when I look at this picture, I think, this is the beginning of White Park, many, many years ago, perhaps. I think that not taking away from the sereneness of the woods, I definitely want that to be kept if I lived in this area and I went to that park a lot. But I think that it's really important to remember that a park is a huge asset, and the more the city invests in the park, the better it is for the abutting community, generally speaking, though not necessarily for a particular abutter who doesn't, who really values that serenity. So as the city grows, I think the people who live in that area are likely to see it ultimately as an asset, even if it doesn't look like it right now.
Hi everybody, Karen Maker. 2 hats. I live on 90 Rockingham, so just down the street. I have a middle schooler who I regularly kick out of the house on her bike all the time. And as you know, we tend to struggle to find places to gather. Our kids really want to gather. They used to gather at the riding. We don't have that anymore. We have Rollins Park, which is great. It's a great asset, but they also do bike down to Martin Field because it is also a great asset. And to know that they have a safe place where we all as neighbors are stewards of this space is, from my perspective as a mom, just such a great opportunity because we don't have to drive to get there. Like our kids can just bike over. So selfishly, very pro. Bike park, while also very aware of, as parents, we are responsible for how our children behave in these spaces, and that's a commitment that I would make as a parent. Second, with my school board hat on, our kids are fighting a losing battle against technology, and anytime we can encourage them to be outside and be with each other, and especially be in a multi-generational space where our kids can connect with our adults in our community, is a huge win, because those places are fewer and further between. I send my kiddo down Main Street just to talk to her neighbors, to learn how to shake hands and talk to our local leaders. Like, that's really valuable too. So anytime there's an opportunity for multi-generational interaction, I really think that even as the abutters, like, I don't want you policing my kid. I want my kid to be respectful of you. I want my kid to be respectful of the community that they're being raised in and interacting with you as a neighbor. So I just want to say, from both of those hats, just giving our kids spaces to be is such a great thing. So.
I'm Brendan O'Connor. I live on Belinda Ave. I'm literally 2 houses from where the little bike path goes, or the walking path goes in there. I've been there for 15 years, and there was a lot of concern when they put in that little connecting path that was going to ruin the neighborhood. If anything, I felt like it really brought everyone together more. I get to see more people out walking around, like to cut through there. I have 3 kids. I would love to say that they would use the bike park, but they would hate biking because they hate everything I enjoy. My issue more than anything else. But like you said, it's like they use a softball field. They play on a softball team. They love it. And I think just having the bike park is just a great asset that the kids would have. And it sounds like you're making this, as environmentally friendly as possible, keeping as much of the environment that is there intact. And it still sounds like if the environment, whether the environmental agency or whatever the town says, the conservation center says, no, you can't, it's just not gonna happen, correct?
If it, yeah, if it can't be permitted, or if there's gonna be big impacts, we'll find different locations.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I work at the middle school, I know how middle schoolers think, and, you know, they have a nice readily available asset like that, they're gonna do that as opposed to make something on their own. And I think that's just a bonus for them.
Okay, anything else?
I think I just wanted to say that the trails back there, I know that they're like man-made and whatever, and probably shouldn't really be there, but it's been a great little area for my son to go. He's out there all the time. He loves those trails, but he's also made good connections with some of the younger kids. I work at Abbott Downing, and some of those kids come into school and they're like, Miss Brenda, we rode with Tucker, and they love it. You know, they love making those connections. I'm happy to see that that's what my son is out doing. I want a safe space for him. I love this area because, I mean, I think 90% of Abbott Downing can walk or ride their bike to school. We have one bus that shows up to school. So they're gonna be out, anyways, they're already out riding their bikes everywhere, and maybe this will bring more to the streets like we talked about, and it'll make our roads a little safer. Yeah, I just want to say that I'm for it, and I love it. I love the connections it'll bring. I feel like it's a quiet sport too. They're using their brains. They're so focused on what they're doing and not crashing. They're not talking to each other the whole time. And I will agree. We've been to Highland as well. I will sit there all day long and read my book and have a drink because it's just peaceful. And I love watching all of them be together and come together for something that they love. So.
Well, on behalf of the city, thank you for coming, continuing the conversation. I'm happy that I get the vibe that people want a bike park. You know, I think trying to find a solution and listening to the abutters may be doable if we address some of the concerns, and it may not be. But we'll go back and try to see where else we could do it. The environmental concerns 100% would have to be solved even before we did anything. Concord TV, we are filming it. It's going to be on TV probably in 4 or 5 days. Part of this is continuing the conversation. When you guys go back out and you talk to your neighbors and you talk to your friends, maybe there's a spot that we have not found. We looked it over. You know, we want to try to get the best possible spot for a bike park.
Maybe you know a generous landowner out there.
Oh, did you raise your hand?
Oh, yeah. Got plenty of land.
Okay, also, the city has a website for the bike park on the Concord Parks Rec and the facilities. All of our CIPs are there. We'll link this to it. I'll get the maps from these guys where we all looked at elsewhere. My email is dgill, so it's DGILL @concordnh.gov. If you don't remember that, just go on the website. It says recreation@concordnh.gov. Staff will send it to me. So just say bike park, and we'll continue the conversation. So thank you. I know it was not hard. I haven't heard from too many kids though. It was not an easy conversation. Anything? Thumbs down, maybe in the middle. Thank you for coming. Everybody can pick up a chair and take a chair back.